Alright, cool.
Yeah, I know. I wrote a lot of shit and then I went and I thought, and I was like, hold up. Yeah, it's right, the cut between Langdale and going towards Idaho. That little side street right there is right in by that coffee shop or the tea. Yeah, it's right by. Yeah, I'm quick question. I'm just saying, do we need to create a rule because that's one of the requirements? You know, because like our program is. Yeah, but exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I can do the things I can just create class. See, the point is, hey, you have time. I was like, when it comes to interfaces, I'm trying to do that. That's fine. That's the only thing. I want to show you. All right, everybody's done except you, right?
Before class starts, we can't see the screen.
Yeah, I'm cool now. I'm awake. Yeah, I'm ready to go.
10 minutes.
Doesn't have. Alright.
I totally studied 12.
Did you show them last class how to actually perform an insert statement and stuff into the
No, I did not.
Oh, okay.
Alright. Any question? This quiz was an easy one. The quiz was an easy one. So why is it so long?
Because we're overthinking it. You were distracting me. We're overthinking it. I was creating like constructors that didn't need to.
I know. I was thinking about it. I was like, why is this so hard? Was it just public interface colorable with the abstract?
Can you write on the
Interface I is with lower.
Is it?
The USB-C? Yeah.
Alright. Today we're going to finish the database. Yes.
Can you write it on the board real quick with the quiz? I just want to see like how you do it.
You wrote it?
I know, but I want to see how you do it. Okay.
Just invite me.
Mitchell, you write it on the board, bro.
What? Should I write it on the board or can I write it on Eclipse?
Oh yeah, right.
Yes. Send it. Yeah, load it down. I'm at
See, that's only for Apple. Oh.
So pretty.
Alright, these are the questions that they're going to ask you during the interview, and it should be piece of cake, alright? You should not struggle on these type of questions, alright? I didn't ask you any complex question at all, alright? So what you do here, by the way, you know you can create different classes inside the same file, right?
Yes.
Alright, so I'm going to put it here. Can it be public or no?
No, only one.
Only one.
So class, what was it? Square?
Yes.
Square.
Extends. Metric object.
Implement.
And then colorable, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Alright, and then minimum thing you have to put here is you don't need this tag, but it's good practice to put that, and you can say properly. Void how to does that make sense to put static?
Because it has to be abstract, right? Interface, all the method has to be abstract, all the attributes has to be static defined.
Yeah, attribute, not the method. Not the method.
Yeah, I get confused right now. But as soon as you mention that, the paper is already kind of.
System out, whatever you want to do there, I don't care. Or, don't. System out things on. Are we good with this?
Yes.
Alright, and then you have to create an interface, right? Can I create an interface inside the same class too?
Yeah.
Okay. But it cannot be public, right?
Right.
Interface. Cover all.
The interface first and then.
And then just put that there.
That's it. You good?
Yeah.
Could it be abstract?
Yeah.
It can be.
Hey.
Like, could it be, you said it could be abstract?
What can be abstract?
That method?
No, public abstract, we talked about it. If you don't have abstract in an interface, automatically
It
considered.
can slide out.
I wrote a lot of stuff and then I remembered that this all the questions.
What happened? Alright guys, it's a class.
What was that?
It's not a Senate or Parliament. Then,
I'm gonna get this one.
print the message? Okay,
Just-
just print the message. I just gonna put the print message here. Can you hear?
Yeah, just inside of the brackets.
Yeah, just put what I put the comment and we'll put whatever you want. Any message you want. Good? Okay. It took me 1 minute to write, 2 minutes.
Well, you were typing, I guess.
Wait, but why do you need to add abstract if interface is already abstract in nature?
You don't need it. It's implied.
That's why I didn't put, someone complained and I put that back here.
Someone complained.
I missed class, so I missed
Yeah.
it.
But it's a good practice to put abstract anyway, alright. So we good with this?
We Gucci, bro.
Alright, interface, abstract class. These are typical questions they're gonna ask, alright? So if you don't answer these questions, the interviewer will be very upset and will terminate the interview quickly, alright? These are like, doesn't abstract, what I have to ask more, okay? Abstract class interface, what is the difference? What is the difference between abstract class and interface? I heard that question maybe 1,000,000 times so far, they ask it during the interview.
What is the difference?
What is the answer?
Yeah.
You have to tell me the answer.
Alright.
Wait, I know that abstract class is not instantiable and
Can someone explain what is the difference between abstract class and interface? And it should be comprehensive, just saying
So you
one.
can create an instance of an interface?
You're gonna have to,
Alright, abstract class has a parent-child relationship. Interface don't have a parent and child relationship. It's more like a, it's more like a performance, like
what is that? Bible?
It's a Bible. Java Bible.
Alright.
It's close.
Why he's studying?
It's close, right?
That was pretty good.
Hey, can you explain? The one who's talking and talking and talking. Can you explain?
Explain?
Yes.
What?
See, you don't listen.
That's why you have to listen. What is the difference between public class, abstract class and interface?
Interfaces only have like the needs of implement right? So there's an abstract method in there.
No, louder. What is the
Okay.
difference?
The difference between an abstract class and an interface.
Yes.
Okay, so for an abstract class, you have to do something.
Come on.
But how is it not good?
You can't create objects from
Yes,
You
there is.
disappointed
create
me.
objects.
Alright, you tell me.
Wait, no, I can do
You
it.
tell me. That's it, your turn to
Come on,
go.
ASI president.
Hey, you tell me.
ASI president.
What is the difference between abstract class and interface?
Enlighten us.
Isn't abstract, it exists to extend,
Okay.
and that's about it.
I know.
Can't really answer the
I
abstract.
kind of get
I
it.
know.
Then,
You can only have one abstract class, but you can have as many interfaces
Yes.
as you want.
what that means?
You can implement them as many as you want.
yes.
Yeah, but
For an abstract class, you can only
That's
have.
one aspect of the difference.
Yeah,
What
but
other?
Well, the difference-
mathematics always have to be implemented
So,
in child.
They like a
With the
parent and
interface-
child
You can implement
relationship,
more than
right?
one
When
interface.
interface is like eatable and fruit, they don't have a relationship.
With interface, you have to.
So what they have?
It's like what the fruit can do, like, it's not like parent-child relationship. Like, fruit and apple have a parent and child relationship, so we can do abstract method with that. But
Abstract
interface,
method or abstract class?
abstract class.
Okay.
But interface and fruit, so fruit and edible, they're not related, like, you know, they don't have a parent-child relationship, so you gotta do
So
the
what
interface.
relationship they have?
They have, that's what I'm trying to looking through in my book, so let me go
I
back.
remember.
I got a question.
The abstract classes or interfaces, their methods, they don't have anything inside of them. You have to implement them and
Oh, I got
make
it.
the name, like make it.
Okay, study net.
They have a specific.
Wait. Let me ask this. Let me ask this real
They have a
quick.
specific comment
Answer,
behavior?
floor is yours.
Is you can't create instances of the abstract class, right?
You can't create.
You can't
it's-
get-
it's-
you can't-
You can't create instances
No,
of anything.
no
Alright, I was
interface
wondering
either,
about that.
You cannot create instance of abstract class, right?
And you
But-
can't do it with interface either.
Yeah, so that's not a difference, that's
Okay.
similarity.
That's sim-
Is it the relationship?
I was wondering, I didn't know.
Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, you
the
can't create objects in either
properties.
one.
Okay.
It's like a specific command behavior of the project, right?
Yeah, one
That
behavior
an
is-
abstract class can only have, or abstract class can have one child, and an interface can have many, be connected to many different.
Yeah, we already talked about it. You can
Right.
implement
There's a lot of
Okay.
differences. Which difference that
It's
you
like
do
fruit
want?
Alright.
and edible is like
Hold on.
behavior.
Study next time, I'm gonna ask you this question, and if I pick up you, it has credit, alright?
Nice.
Okay, what?
Yeah, so, I might pick anybody, maybe one or maybe two or maybe three, alright?
That's fine.
What, so are we getting credit for this one?
Do we
We
pick up
kinda
all
get
of
it,
it?
If you answer,
Credit.
you don't get any credit, but if you don't answer, you will lose some credit, alright? Because this is a question I'm expecting everybody to know by now,
You'll
and
lose
nobody
the
knows.
credit.
I mean, that's the whole point of that chapter.
Can you explain what's the difference? Because I thought I was saying.
No, you're gonna read, I explained it, you're gonna read the chapter again, line by line, and next time I'm gonna ask you a question.
Okay.
Alright, guys, you have to study, alright? In the verbal exam, if you answer it like this, you're gonna lose the whole credit. You have to elaborate precisely, what is the difference, what is abstract class, what is an interface? Yes,
Can I answer?
go ahead.
I can try again?
No, not today.
I'm gonna keep trying it if you're right.
You didn't get the job, not today.
That's fine when I present this project.
When I apply for another job, alright. Something that I think I missed it last time to explain. So we finished the exceptions, right?
Yes.
Abstract class and interface. So how many, okay, I have an abstract class. Can I extend from abstract class?
Yes.
How many class I can extend from?
One.
Only one. How many interface I can implement? As many as I want, right?
Yes.
Now, interface. New interface. Let's say interface A. Is that interface A?
Yes.
Alright, I'm gonna create another interface. Is that interface B? Yes.
Yep.
And I'm gonna create another interface, which is interface C. Now look at the C. I'm not gonna say implements, I'm gonna say extend B, comma, C. Oh,
Yeah.
my bad.
You can't use extend, so you have to use implement.
Hey.
You see your grade
Yeah,
line?
that's the whole point I wanna talk about. If there's an interface that's trying to inherit from another interface, you will say extend from another interface, alright? And did I extend from more than two interfaces?
Yeah. Well, one.
Interface can extend another interface and more than one interface. As many as interfaces, right? Class can extend what? Another class. Class can implement as many interfaces as possible, right? So these are the details you have to remember and practice it, okay? So we good? Alright, let's go back to database and then we talk about the project. So my assumption is the video I sent, was it helpful or no?
Yes.
Yeah, I said it.
Huh?
Yeah.
We've been looking at the Java
I don't
effects
understand
for
why
a
you sent
while.
us to the.
Not the FX.
The
The
database?
yeah.
The database.
Yeah, the database is fine.
Okay, so you got what you did. Did you install MySQL?
Yes. Yes.
Alright. And I'm talking to everybody. So if someone didn't do it, just raise your hand because that's the time to talk about your problem, okay? Did everybody install MySQL? Yes.
What if I didn't use Oracle?
Are you using Oracle? Is it working?
As long as it works.
It works. So my assumption is you installed MySQL on your laptop.
So if in the group everybody's supposed to use the same.
Yeah, of course. It's a one project,
Yeah.
one database, right? So everybody installed MySQL. Can you run queries there? Create table, insert stuff into the table, delete the stuff from the table. Can you do all these stuff?
Yes.
And they call it CRUD. CRUD means what?
Create, delete, create, update, delete.
Correct. Create, read, update, delete. That's all many people do in database, right? So
I
can you-
actually had a question about that database. We do have this set up, and didn't you say you actually inserted something into them today?
Yeah.
So when you said the same database, does the database like exist on like a connection that we built or something? Is that what's happening?
That's over internet.
You have a database here, right?
Right.
Inside the database, it's not a database. You deal with the relational database management system. So when you install MySQL, it's sort of empty. It's not really empty. It comes with some databases. All right. What is a database really behind the scene? You can imagine it's a folder. So imagine this is my database system. As soon as I say create a database, database 1, or let's say customer. This is a database. Now inside that I'm going to create tables, which imagine is files. So if I create another database, what do I have to create? Another folder.
Another folder.
But you don't deal with that. The database system will take care of all this stuff. Eventually everything is saved as what there? Files. Alright?
Right. But I guess what I was confused about.
Yeah.
We were both working on that database, but how do we use the same database?
You both use the same database on what? On
Like how do we use the same
You
database?
can have, you don't need. to
Alright,
have-
if you have a database locally on your laptop and he has no database on his laptop, then you cannot use a shared database.
Right.
Because
So I'm asking like how do
how
we?
you have to host it in a cloud, or you have to have it in the network, and then you can use the IP of his laptop,
Yeah, that's how.
and then use to connect to that.
I haven't used IP.
Yeah, so
It's-
so
It's not complicated.
no, I'm not telling you have to do it that way. For database, maybe you don't need that much of a collaboration on the database side, do you?
I mean,
No.
I guess not considering.
Unless
You
it's
create the
just a-
tables, you give the script to your teammate, they create the tables, and that's pretty much it.
Oh,
Right?
okay.
There is not much of collaboration, but in real life, there is a database server
Mhm.
that everybody have access to it using the IP and the port.
Okay.
Now, if you want to try it, can you VPN to the Georgia State Network?
Yes.
All right. Then you can go here and say, and then say IP config, and it tells you what is the IP address, which is not a public IP address, it's a local public IP address. What is public? Public is from internet I can access an IP, alright? But when you make a network here, everybody will get an IP, but it's local IP. Nobody can access your laptop from outside. That's how it works. In the network, every laptop has an IP, but it's not public. So do I have an IP here? Yes, IP, what is that? 131.96.2366, and sometimes this changes, alright? So if I give you this IP to you, and say change that IP, instead of putting local host for that MySQL connection, if you put this IP, you know what will happen? If I'm running MySQL, you connect to my database.
Oh, okay, so you just put
Well, you need you still need the username.
Yeah, I have to give you the username
That's
password.
it, yeah, that's all you need.
Okay.
Yeah, so if I'm running MySQL here and I give you my IP here and give you the credential, I give you the port, that's standard usually, you don't need a reason to change the port, then I'm running it here, you can connect on your laptop and query my database. That's how a server works. So if you go to a company, they have a server that runs Oracle or whatever, and everybody can connect to that. You just need to know the credential, the IP, and the port. That's it. You had the database course or no?
Yeah, I'm taking the database.
So did they give you a shared place?
Yeah, I'm using that now. It's like an AnyConnect. Like through AnyConnect, I now connect to the GSS.
Okay. So are we good with this?
Yeah.
All right. So everybody can connect to the database and run stuff, right? So we discussed that. And did you? So you can run this create table, drop table. All right. Did you try this Java code? Where is it? This Java code. No.
Yeah.
You did? So you're running a Java code that connects to the database?
Yes, that's
Yes.
yeah.
So it's working?
Yes.
Everybody?
No, this one,
We're
yeah,
not too,
yeah.
we don't have results.
Something similar.
Oh, no, this, yeah.
Results said.
You haven't
Okay.
tried that.
You didn't try? You didn't have time?
No, not
Your
this
teammate did?
Huh?
Your teammate tried?
Yeah, we're doing it tonight.
Oh, you're not in? No? Okay. So do it tonight. Okay? For sure, make it happen. That video helps, right? So if you follow that instruction, it will work, right?
And it doesn't matter what database you're using, you can run that code?
Well, depending.
No.
That's just, it's only for SQL?
This is for MySQL.
Yeah, it's for MySQL.
The reason is, no, everything is similar except this part. This part is different. Driver. Okay.
The driver for Oracle will be different. but-
Yeah, you have to download the Oracle driver, JDBC. Everybody know what is the JDBC?
Yes,
Talked about it,
database
right?
connector, yes.
JDBC
I'm
is
using the driver from the JDK8 that's already in the java.sql.
the driver is already there?
Yeah.
Yes, the driver's there, you don't need it anymore.
I didn't.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
yeah,
Java 8, it's really.
Oh, it has a driver
Yes.
already? Okay, you don't need the driver, but driver is what? A translation between the Java code and what? Database.
Yeah.
So each database has different JDBC because the translation is different. So if you already have that in 1.8, you just have to run this code. And I think a new JDBC, you also don't need to load this
No.
driver anymore. So this line you can drop it. And then you make a connection, right?
Yeah.
You create a statement.
Yeah.
You execute the query, you get the result set. Result set is what? It's just an object that you can iterate to it. So this is the rows there. So you can say, do I have a row there? This returns true. You go one by one for every row and print the field. And then next one, do I have another row? You keep doing that, right? Result set is standard in almost every programming language, right? So are we good with this?
But you need to insert in the table first, just
Yes, you have to have the table,
Yeah.
select something from it. The table is not there, you already know exception, right?
Yep.
Yes.
You're gonna get a SQL exception.
Is there a connector here, or is this not using a connector?
Which one, connection? Yeah, it's using connection to create a statement.
Isn't it like a thing where you have to like create a connector though? That's what I
No,
don't-
just connection.
I'm trying to catch up.
Where's connector?
No, what about it? I'm trying to figure out.
So with Java, you're gonna insert information into the table.
No, it's just selecting.
You can just create.
You
a
can
table,
you
create
can
a table.
insert too. You can create an insert statement and say execute query insert. But let's go through that a
That's
little
an
bit
update.
here.
You can't.
Okay. You can, in this code, am I selecting?
Yes.
So you say execute query, right? If you form the statement as an insert, you have to say execute update.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's it. So you can select. See, if you just selecting, you say execute query. If you change the status of the database between insertion, deletion, and blah blah blah, you say what? Execute update, because it's an update to the status. That's the only difference. And when you update, you get back a result set.
No, you get a 0.
If I insert something to the database, do I get rows back? No, you just insert, right?
Yeah.
What you get back is just an integer, and it tells you how many items you inserted. That's it. Delete the same, you just get back an integer. How many items you deleted?
I was just wondering.
Try it at home. Create an insert statement and run it. Can you run it back to back? Result set, and then after that create another one. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, and I by mistake try to insert the same information again and give me the error, same
Duplicate key. Yes. So you can play with it, but I'm assuming every team has this code running because this is a core part of your project for database. If you can make this happen, then the database part is done. All right? But you're not going to use statement in your project. You're going to use prepared statement.
Yeah.
Okay? And
Prepared statement, right?
prepared statement.
Yeah.
So we're going to discuss why you don't use pre-execute query for statement, all right? There are two reasons. Statements see database side has some optimization too. Okay? When you give a query to a database, it's like any programming language. It doesn't understand the query. It should translate that, compile that, right? And then queries the database, right? With the statement, even if I give the same query again and again, it will recompile this. Okay? It will recompile that. If you use prepared statement, it's already pre-compiled. Okay? So it doesn't need to do that again and again, so it's faster. That's one reason that we're going to use prepared statement, right? So why we need to use prepared statement instead of statement?
Faster?
It's faster, and you have to explain why it's faster.
Because it's pre-compiled.
Pre-compiled, right? Another thing. From like credentials,
Where user equals blah blah blah. Where user equals
just
whatever.
say username. I don't deal with the password. Alright? I know you do username and password. I just want to say fine. Username equals to what?
Get text, whatever.
With AAA, right? So you create something like this with the string,
Right.
and what you get that as an AAA, you're gonna concatenate, right?
Right.
I agree.
Yes.
And then you execute this string, right? Okay, so let's say someone instead of AAA put select blah 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 blah, for example. Can I put that there in the username field? Yeah, I can put anything.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
So what will happen? Instead of AAA, this comes here, right?
Yes.
Alright, so this becomes what?
Select blah blah blah.
Select blah blah blah.
Now we got an error.
Did I change the query?
Yes.
I changed the query, right?
Yes.
So can I have a power using different data here to change what the query is intended for?
Yeah.
Can I abuse the system?
Yes.
Yes, we can abuse the system.
Ah.
Alright.
That's what you do in URL. Those
What?
in URLs you do those like.
In URLs?
Yeah.
On URLs. Yeah, you can
yeah.
abuse URLs too. Correct. So you understand what is happening here, right?
Yes.
Rewriting the query.
See, this query is just to go to the credentials table and figure out that password is valid or no, right? And return a message back, right?
Right.
Okay, so and that's the only intention of that query, right? If I change it by the user input. Statement like this that I write is subject to SQL injection. Have you heard about SQL injection?
SQL injection.
Injection.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So I'll give you an example. So you have to elaborate on two items. Why we don't want to use statement, we want to use prepared statement. If you have a database course, you might understand this a little bit better. So have you seen like on the website, there are lots of websites that you need to put username password? So let's say this is the username. And this is the password. Right. And you put a button there. Actually, there's not many sites. Your site will have a username password too, right? Yeah. Okay. So let's say I put password username AAA, and I put password what? EE. Eventually, what you do here that's possibly what you do. You say select from like credentials table where what?
Password.
Just say username. I don't deal with the password. Alright? I know you do username and password. I just want to say it's not. Username equals to what? And you put AAA there, right? So you create something like this with a string, and what you get that as an AAA, you're going to concatenate, right? You agree? And then you execute this string, right? Okay, so let's say someone instead of AAA put select blah 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 blah, for example. Can I put that there in the username field? Yeah, I can put anything, right? So what will happen? Instead of AAA, this comes here, right?
Yes.
Alright, so this becomes what? Select blah blah blah. Did I change the query?
Yes.
I changed the query, right?
Yes.
So can I have a power using different data here to change what the query is intended for?
Yes.
Can I abuse the system?
Yes.
Yes, we can abuse.
Alright, that's what you do in URL.
What?
URLs, you do those?
In URL?
Yeah.
On URLs? Yeah, you can abuse URLs too. Correct. So you understand what is happening here, right?
What do you mean you say abuse the system?
See, this query is just to go to the credentials table and figure out that password is valid or no, right? And return a message back, right? Okay, so and that's the only intention of that query, right? If I change it by the user input to give another query to run.
Like you type in a query?
Yeah, you can type a query.
That's crazy. Okay.
So that query can come and become the sub-query of this one and might do something to the system which is not intended for the user to do that, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Right? You
Yeah.
agree?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have to stop that. That's why you use prepare statement. Prepare statement is a similar concept. Let's see how it works. So I'm going to use prepare statement. So these are the class hierarchy and all those stuff. So C statement, prepare statement, and then you have connection, and then result set. These are the methods of the result set. These are the methods of what? Of the connection. So using the connection, you can create statement. You can create what? Prepare statement. So here I created what? I create a statement. I can create prepare statement, right? So I'm going to show you an example. Let's see which example I have here. Right, this is a good example. Callable statement. Just keep that in mind. That we're not going to use callable statement in this course, but they might ask you as a question, interview question. You had database course?
Yeah.
Have you heard about stored procedures?
Yeah.
What is a stored procedure? Huh? What is a stored procedure? You had database course?
I haven't heard that term.
It's like an automated,
See, I can write select blah 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 from this table, right? I can say set, right? If, see, I can write one query and run it, right? And you did that in your database course, right?
Yes.
Can I put all these queries together in one bundle and put some logic between them?
Yeah,
Yes.
bulk, like bulk.
Yes. So if you put lots of queries together with the logic between them, so select from this table, when you get this table, check this row, if that's something then insert into another table, so it's like sort of a programming, right?
Yeah.
But for different tables and data, right?
It's kind of like method, pretty much. No, it's like a method.
It is like a method, right? You pass an input to it, it runs a logic, and it might give you an output, alright? That's called stored procedure. Can I run stored procedure from Java code? Yes. You have to use what? Callable statement, alright? And if I were you, and I have time, hopefully you have, I go home and practice this stuff. Let's create let's create a stored procedure and let's run it and see how it works, because many companies run stored procedures.
Yeah, because it shortens the time.
Not really. Sometimes it's easier to put 5, 6 statements in just one store prod.
And execute them all.
Yeah, because you can run it one by one in the Java code and put the logic in the Java code, which is preferred by programmers. But sometimes database people like to put everything in a database side. So instead of writing 3 queries in Java code and put the logic between them, they put the 3 queries in the database with the logic between them in the database as a stored procedure. And Java only runs the stored procedure.
So it's like if anything else get in there, that stored procedure just said is wrong. And
yeah, that's the problem, because when you put lots of items in the stored procedure and something goes wrong, you cannot exactly figure out what went wrong. So troubleshooting of a stored procedure is not as easy as a Java code. And many companies do it in stored procedure because it's convenient, very convenient.
Yeah, we've been told today about this.
Huh?
We've been told about this procedure in the class. It says
You were told
yeah,
to use it or not to use it?
to use it.
Yes.
That actually stored procedure is like
You can use it, but better not to write a huge stored procedure.
yeah.
Alright? Are we good? Alright. So let's look at this preferred statement. Do I have the code for it? Alright, I have to plug in my laptop. Alright, see that? Alright. So what is the Alright, final grade using prepared statement. Alright, so let's go through it. Alright, don't worry about the GUI part. Prepared statement, so let's take a look here. Initialize the DB, this is a method, right? Public void initialize DB, I'm going to put it in the try and catch, right? I load the driver, which is not needed for new JDBC, right? I'm going to make a connection, which we already know how to make a connection. This is the local host because you're running it on your local laptop. This is the database, and these are the credentials, right? Now here, I'm going to create a query, but I'm not going to concatenate the parameter that I need. I'm going to put what there? Just question mark. So if you have a where clause and you want to put some parameters there, you're just going to put a question mark. These are going to get populated, but we're not going to concatenate it like before, right? So now when I create a prepared statement, which I did, right? I will say what? Set string, see here, connection prepared statement, and I pass that query. Which query? The one that I formed here, right? But the parameter that I want to push into is question mark, right? So do I have a prepared statement? Yes. Now take a look. Set the string for parameter 1 SSN. What is the parameter 1? Go here, the first question mark. Am I replacing this with SSN that I have as a variable? Am I replacing the second question mark with course ID? And I don't have any other question mark, right? So did I fill all the question marks? Right, then I execute the query. When I execute query, what I get back? Result set, and the rest is the same. We go row by row. So you get a prepare statement from connection, and then you put the query and you set up those question marks. That's all. So change your code that was connected to the database using prepare statement. Can you change it right now?
Yeah.
Okay, change it and see if it works. So instead of question mark for that query, instead of concatenation, you have to put what? Question mark, and then two set string, 1 and 2, with the right data, and just the rest will stay the same. So change it right now and see if it works. Now, can you change it and see if it works?
That's true.
Hey guys, are you changing it?
Yes. Just to see if it works.
Change it.
No, but already it was So is it changed in there? You see, like, the screen has the insert and you put the course name. So basically you go
So for mine, all of my statements are in a method, and I just pass the message as a string. So when I come inside of this method, and make the prepare statement, so I call this number. This is a update.
But here is the difference.
So I call it,
Where did you create the statement?
String, and select first one.
so update ticket table, I have this, so instead I change.
No, I'm
So I pick
question mark, alright.
So down here, inside here, I just pick.
Through the connection.
Yes.
Connection. Yeah. Not, yeah, don't say create. Say create.
I mean, like,
Now we're inside the analysis and you get what? Prepare statement.
Okay.
You don't get the result. When you run that one, you get the result. I'm waiting for you guys to change it. Are you changing it?
I'm already used to insert.
The next one should be,
You cannot say.
Screen.
Oh, no catches.
Yeah, it should work. It's not working?
No, this one works. What I'm saying is, once already, they updated the system.
That's my data already.
But the same thing, I can write similar, basically,
No, select is slightly different. You have to get that.
But I'll have to
You have to set the.
I would select the,
No, select is the same, but when you get the prepare statement, you cannot just say execute. You have to put
yeah, so like I have to put,
the arguments, the question marks.
yeah, I mean, I will put the
Yeah,
question mark.
and then you execute.
And then,
And keep that in mind. Again, if you are running a select, you have to say what? Execute query. If you're running a insert or delete or something like that, execute update. So that stays the same.
But you can still do the prepare statement and the update too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So every team is doing it. Don't come 2 days before the project and say how I can write a prepare statement, all right?
We might have to change on my table.
no, the thing is that.
Is it working for you?
We already have prepared.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Like right now, we can write the same thing, but it's just we need to,
Right.
So the result set doesn't have
What I'm saying is our database, it's all,
Oh.
because he was saying like, it's not gonna be a collaborative process, so one of us is gonna be the person that has the database on their computer or whatever like that.
Is it?
You sync it one time and that's it.
Right, we'll sync it, but you're saying like, it's gonna be one of
How
us.
are you creating the table? With a script, right? With a script, right?
Right.
And you're creating another table, again the script, right? And you're inserting some stuff, again script. Can you put all this script in one file?
Yes.
Right.
And then run that file?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if someone changes the database, can you sync that file?
Yes.
So it'll update the changes for everybody. I don't know why.
You write one script
Right.
that has everything in it.
Right. That creates a
Master
table.
script.
Right.
And you keep that where? As a backup somewhere also, right?
Yeah.
Okay? But that script doesn't have the data. But
Yeah,
you
it's
can
just the way, how we're gonna extract it.
But you can have the data inside that script too. So there's two ways you can do it. You can write the script in a file or create it all on the database. There's an option on the database that says export. And when you say export, it asks you schema only or schema and data. And if you say schema and data, then it creates a huge file for you with all the creation of tables and then insert of all the data. So then you have this as a backup. So if your database crash tomorrow, can you install a new MySQL and run this script? And then you have all your tables and data again.
Yep.
Alright, that's what you have to do.
I lost it. And I don't know
But I was talking about the structure as far as all our attributes are.
No, but definitely
I have this data.
You see, there is lots of coordination here. So if you have that script, if someone change any data, you have to regenerate that again and distribute it to everywhere, right? Because we don't have a shared database.
Right.
Now people using shared database from their course, they're good. Because everything is there. You don't need to collaborate anymore, right? But, and I think they have a backup of that database, so you should be fine, but I would recommend you to create a script and use that as a backup.
Yeah.
But I mean, anyways, we have to create the script first.
I don't think it's too critical because you have like 3-4 tables possibly and a little bit data in it, so even if it crashes, I don't think it takes more than half an hour to reconstruct everything, right?
Yeah.
But I was just saying, I mean, I'm pretty sure they're right, but I was just making sure the structure, the structure.
Alright, but your code will go to GitHub, right?
Right. We've been pushing that pull.
Okay. So push and pull there, and if your system crashes, you're good, right?
Right. Yeah, okay. Alright, well, you put this on there.
Alright, what's the question?
So after it comes to
We can go.
I feel like we have to eventually
I've been pushing everything.
After? So you run it with what else?
Even just use to do like whatever.
You just said?
No, you have to set them before running it.
So this is the right order.
Yeah,
I put it in the right
yeah.
order. Alright. My program is
Right.
almost done, so I don't know.
Alright, test the data.
I'm testing it out.
I don't know how the techniques work.
Nope.
Alright, figure it out. Put a breakpoint. Alright, are we good with database?
When's that one too?
Huh?
When's that one too? Assignment two?
Oh, it's fast. They fast.
What?
It was
I thought
weekend,
you
right?
pushed it back another week.
Tickets booked.
Dude, me and you talked for like maybe 45 minutes.
Yeah, that,
I thought you were pushing it back another week.
I did one week. How many weeks you wanna do?
Cause I don't feel like.
I know, I just thought you
It
kept
was
pushing it
6,
back.
I made it 13, right? Something like that, right?
And then we do it after.
I still turn it in for questions.
Do whatever you can, man. You're out of sync.
I'm trying to graduate.
Yeah,
I've
you're
got
trying to graduate
senioritis.
by not doing that assignment.
Yeah, well, I got senioritis. I'm like, I'm done. I'm ready to be gone. And it's your major. And yeah, this is my major. I've got.
Keep that in mind, that's not the reason I give you a passing grade, alright? So don't say I'm graduating. Because many people come to me like that. It's my
I would
first
imagine.
semester.
My last
So what?
semester already.
It will be
It's
your,
my last semester.
next semester will be your last semester.
Yeah, if you gotta rate my professor, they definitely gotta say, don't take it.
Yeah, go ahead.
The question mark itself gave me the SQL error.
Look at your statement and see if it's right.
But I did what you said. Okay, I'm lost. We take picture.
Do you have a person table?
Did you put,
Yes.
did you put 2 question mark there?
What was that?
Did you put, are you running this code?
Yeah.
Are you running this code or another code?
My code.
Yeah, I don't know what is your code, so unless you show it to me,
I just was up there.
Yeah,
You told me to go back.
but did you put a breakpoint? Guys, get used to troubleshoot your stuff on your own. They're not gonna do that in the,
Oh,
in the
yeah.
company, alright? And you know what to do, and I know the same thing. What
Yeah,
I
I
do,
mean-
something is breaking. Do I know which line? No, I don't. How can I figure out?
I know
Put a
which
breakpoint
one.
in.
I know exactly which.
No, let me finish. Which line?
Yeah.
I don't know. How can I figure out which
Right.
line? With a breakpoint, you go line by line and it tells you exactly what line crashed. Now, the message you get from that line doesn't give you any hint why it crashed. If it does, try to figure out what you have to change on that line. If not, welcome to the world of programming. Then you have to scratch your head for hours and days to try to figure it out. How? By Googling that message and see who had a similar issue
Yeah, I
and
do
how
that
they
a lot
fixed
today.
it.
I do it really a lot
Just
today.
like you.
So don't think I have a magic power here. I do the same thing that you're gonna do.
Yeah.
But you've been doing this for longer.
Yes, I have more experience, so when I see the message, maybe I don't need to Google it. But you Google it a couple of times and then you see the same message again, then you don't Google it again, alright? But what I'm saying is, troubleshooting is clear cut, what you have to do. Alright, are we good with database?
Yes. I see my thing.
Is it running with prepared statements?
Yeah, also has a Google, which is saying so the. I'm saying though, it's not that complicated at all, like, it's really not complicated at all. It's very, very
Alright, we're almost done with the database part. So using JDBC, you can connect to the database and you can run queries and you can get the results set back or insert, update the tables, right? You can use statement, you can use prepared statement and callable statement for what?
For the-
stored procedure.
Yeah.
That's it. There are some ways to get the metadata information from database, which we're not going to discuss it, but can you write some Java code that tells you how many rows are in this table and how many tables we have, what is the version of this database, metadata. Anybody know what is metadata? Yes. So it's data about data, right?
Yeah.
Overall it talks about your database. So can I write a code that gives me all this information, like what is the username, what is the password, blah, blah, blah? Yeah, you can.
Okay, never mind.
Alright, here you go.
Can I ask you a question about something we did with cars? We created like, so we have an admin and we have a customer, right? And we created a person.
Alright, we talk about project. Don't go too specific about project right now. So we can run queries and we can run Java code, see connection. Did I use prepared statement? Did I use statement before? You can say get metadata. And using this object now you can run different, you can get different information from the database. What is the JDBC version? What is the maximum name of the table? Blah, blah, blah. Is it useful to you for your project? No. But sometimes it's very useful, right? Because server sitting somewhere, you have no clue who can access it right now. Using a Java code, I can say what version of Oracle it is. What is the username password of it, right? But obviously, you cannot run it if you don't have the username password, right? Because you need to connect to the database, and then you're fine to get the username password. So I'm not sure how useful is that. But anyway, so that's it. We're done with the database. You still have to pass the exam. Alright. Now, so we're going to talk about the GUI part today. And then I'm going to put the whole structure of project one more time so you can see what you have to do, alright? Okay. And next week, come with questions in the class, alright? And 2 weeks from now, you will have the presentation, alright?
Right.
2 weeks?
Yes.
Is that a dress code or is it business?
No dress code. Don't come and show me a broken project with a suit.
It's like, I'm looking at it, it's
See, suit and shaking hands and all this stuff affects your project if you pass that threshold of showing a nice project. If that is not there, you shake hands 100 times, nothing will change.
I know, what if it's a nice project and I got like
Some gators on.
200 if I dress.
To be straight over like
We should give her the best dressed award.
Instead of spending time of ironing your suit and blah blah blah, just spend our time on the project.
Right.
That's fair. That's fair.
But for interview, it's a different thing. You have to dress well, right?
Can you dress too nice?
Too nice like what?
Like, will you be offended if I come in there like too nice?
You can wear whatever you want, but I'm just saying don't count on the credit part.
Did you say whatever I want?
It
should be something strange.
We can make it for the way we keep thinking about everything.
I know.
No, but this is the first layer of touch that I said. Because I can go after that another layer and see. You want to create an address, just think. What is the new practice in the planning? What about this guy goes under the bus, then what? Admin dead, and we don't have any admin.
Well, that's good.
Well, that's not gonna be complicated for me. I'm trying to figure out what y'all check was.
Okay, so
All my tables are created. Yeah, just all my users and then my admin.
so instead of having a custom then we need to create a customer table and
Have that logic in the
Alright, break is over. Go back. Alright, how many of you like to have the project 29? Or you want it 6?
29.
So 6 is good? Everybody wants to keep it 6? Yes. Alright.
Do before.
So what if we did it the 29th? What would happen on the May 6th?
Chill till 29, so till 6. And then, if you're done and finished, spend time on the other project.
What about the final? What is the final?
The 76.
It's the same day as the presentation.
No. We talked about verbal lectures, right?
I don't remember the last time we did.
Alright, let's start before that. How many of you remember the verbal exam that I explained?
you didn't really explain it.
Yeah, there is not much of an explanation, but
Basically, you will ask and we'll answer.
Yeah, you go ask line to line, right?
And you'll ask us.
I ask questions and you have to answer.
How
What
many
I'm gonna
questions?
ask? Huh?
How many questions?
It depends on your board.
Depends. If you're answering it right, I might bring it down. If he's answering it wrong, add to it, but maybe from 5 to 6 to 7 to 8.
Okay.
So you don't ask that question like, what does your page use or stuff like
Not
that?
that detail on the GUI, but I'm gonna ask the core concept.
Of the GUI?
Not the GUI.
Oh, like, would you ask?
Can you leave database out of it?
So like.
No, I should leave database.
Because I haven't taken a database course and like I don't fully get.
But I'm not asking you database question. I'm asking you Java that is related.
So you don't ask question like, what is interface and stuff like that, which you just asked earlier?
Or you can say, elaborate more on polar circuits.
What?
Explain polar circuits.
I can do
Yes,
recursion.
I can.
Oh, so it
Ask
could
me
be
about
anything.
recursion, I got you.
It could be anything, not,
Recursion is
not
my niche.
exactly the project, you can ask anything.
It's not about the project.
You don't like recursion?
During the presentation,
Do you know what the
I'm gonna ask-
definition of recursion is?
Yes.
Recursion.
Oh, yeah, be quiet. Yo,
Guys, this is a class, alright?
Yeah,
So I'm gonna ask a question about Java course that I taught here, right? During the presentation, I'm gonna ask you what you did about your project. And I'm not just gonna ask you, okay, I'm gonna ask you who did the coding of what part and show it to me and explain it to me. And if that person says, I wrote this, but I don't know what it is, every team member gets punished for that, alright? So make sure you don't have a team member there that doesn't know what you did. And just one person did the project with the hope that I'm gonna say excellent, everybody's gonna get A. No, I'm gonna ask questions from individuals. So if your participation was 0, it will affect others too. So don't jump on the project and do it alone. If you want to have more contribution, you have to share it with others too, so they will be in sync and on the same page what you did. And everybody should have a contribution. Means you should do something about this project. Not just some moral support or bringing pizza for the funeral.
Well, don't talk about pizza.
So for example, like, so in our group, I did like GUI part, right? So if I mention that you're gonna ask me only question from the GUI part, or you might ask me questions about the stuff.
About the project?
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what you did. Show me the code you wrote and explain it.
Oh, okay.
You might say, no, I didn't do the database. I did the GUI mostly.
Yeah. Is that fine?
It should be fine. Yeah.
Okay.
You had a contribution, right?
Yeah, yeah, because we divided
But then
the
in the
part.
next section, which I'm going to ask question, I will jump on the database with you because I want to see if you know the database.
Okay, I got you.
Just know it.
Alright, I'm not going to ask you the project, but I'm going to ask you on the second level part, that if you know the database, alright? Yeah, study for it, alright? Don't come here and say, I don't have time to study, sorry. No, you're not going to get credit for the verbal exam. So it's not a negotiation time. Okay, give me something. No, there's nothing to give you.
There's always something to keep.
No. No, people take verbal exam very relaxed. Like I said, it's okay, I don't answer, but the project is there, but pass. No.
Do you have any presentation day stories?
Presentation story?
Well, you actually presented the story.
Yeah, I have a presentation story. It's I told you that about the Java, right? They did it in Ruby.
Oh, wait, what?
No, you didn't tell us
Can you
this.
tell us what?
I said, why in Ruby? He said, because your project didn't say you have to write it in Java. That's why I put it,
Java class.
that's why I put it in the requirement, Java.
Oh, really? So before you didn't have it? You wrote like exclusively saying.
Exactly.
So, and what happened?
The person, yeah, I have no other option because if you take it to a lawyer, the lawyer says there's no Java in it.
Ruby is.
Ruby is not there, so it's up to you what to do. So I changed that.
But was it done well or?
Huh?
Was it well prepared?
Yeah, well it's done, yeah. Another experience with the project, teams were fighting. We can't work together, so I step in, which I should not. Nothing to do with me team problems. You have to solve it on your own. But this time I stepped in and broke that team into two different teams. With two different people here, two different people here. I said, you work on this, and you two work on the project, right? Separate, no fight, that's it. During the presentation, they came all four again together. And I said, what? Why you came four? I said, we solved our problems and we decided to be one team again.
After that, you don't deal with
I
it.
said, that's not how it works. You want to break up, then you kind of join again. So. All right, ready? All right, last part. Okay, if I explain about this, you can finish your project on the GUI side. This is what? This is a Java FX that gets some information like annual interest rate. It gets the number of years you have to return the loan, and you get the loan amount. By clicking this button, it tells you what? What is the monthly payment, and what is what? The total payment. So, obviously you can use a grid pane to create this layout. And then the only thing you have to know that if I click on this button, how can I get these three information? And obviously if you get these three information, you can push it to a formula. And how can I show it in this text field? And your project will be similar to, instead of doing this, you get the information from user for registrations. When you click on it, you get that information, and now you can handle what to do with it, alright? So we're going to explain more, but let's look at this code, loan calculator. Alright, Java FX, text field, text field, text field, text field. Am I using a grid pane?
Yes.
Yes, I'm putting all the stuff there so you should know how to put it in rows and columns. And let's get here. components that you have, like button or some other stuff, can be registered for an event. Like button, when you have a button, what event comes into your mind? Click on the button, right?
Okay.
What do you mean you don't know?
I'm trying to catch up, man. I got you.
It's just one button.
All
What
right.
comes into your mind? Clicking a button, right? So, events can be clicking on the button, right? So you can register a listener for an event. Again, these are keywords. Register a listener for what? For an event. So if I say, hey button, start listening to an event, and that event is clicking on the button, so start listening. As soon as you click on the button, it grabs that event, alright? This is the button, right?
Yes.
Set on action. So I'm registering a listener that do something on that action when you click on the button. What to do? Now this is a little bit weird syntax, which we're going to hash it out. For now, if you bear 10 minutes, I'm going to explain it. Just put an E with the arrow and say what function you want to trigger or what method you want to trigger. What that E means, what that arrow means, don't worry. So this button, when you click on it, what will happen?
It's going to calculate.
This method gets triggered. Alright? And you have the method here, right? So what I'm doing here, this was a text field, right? When you say get text, it gives you whatever is inside that text field at that moment.
If it's a double number.
And because it's a string, always comes as a string, and you want to do mathematical calculation, then you use double to parse that string to what? To a double number. Can I get the value of other text fields?
Yes.
The same, text field, get text, right?
Yes.
I got all those information. You already had the loan class before. So I create a loan object, which we don't care about what is the loan object, but it had some methods on it that you can call. Look at this one. What is this? Text field, right? Set text. So now I can set the text on the text field. Which one was that? The one that you calculated the monthly payment, right?
Yes.
And you can also specify the format with two floating points. And this get monthly payment is coming from that loan object, which is implemented in the loan class. We don't care. The only thing we care is you can get information from the text field, and you can set the string on the text field. And when you click on that button, by using the set on action and using E, arrow, and a method, you can trigger a method. So in your project, should I put a register button set on action E and register the user? On the register the user, should you get every information string from the text field? Should you push that into an object like person or customer? Then should you pass that customer object to the next layer? And then from that layer to another layer for the database, blah, 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 right? So I'm going to show you the architecture of this application, but we discussed it a little bit, right? Yes.
Do you have to parse every like double integer string, even if you're
Anything
not?
comes out is a string.
Even if it's not being calculated,
Then
like
you
if you're not
don't
using
need-
for calculation.
No.
Yeah. Just leave it as a string.
Yeah, if it's 1, 2, 3 and it's string and you don't want to do mathematical operation, why you need to
Parse it.
parse it? Right? Okay, so we're going to discuss about this E. Where is it?
Is it not generic?
E, no, this is called lambda expression.
Not a lambda expression.
Java 8.
We're going to discuss it soon in 10 minutes. And you see, it's a smart way of doing stuff in Java. It auto detects a lot of stuff for you. But for now, if you want to trigger that method on a button, set action, E, arrow, and whatever method you want. That's it, alright? Then in 15 minutes I'm going to talk about the project, but the good point about this semester is you have plenty of time to work on your project. There was semester that you had just 1 week to finish the project.
Yeah, you have to work in.
Is that because we started early or just like we have a time?
I think I rushed it a little bit.
Yeah, I think we all started like a little early.
Alright. Procedural versus event-driven programming. Procedural programming is executed in procedural order. Event-driven programming, click on a button, trigger an event, and catch that event and go from there, alright? Alright, let's take a look at this one. Now I can explain more about this one. So, what is this? You have a stage, which is a scene in it with two buttons. When I click on the OK, it prints OK. When you click on the cancel, it says what? Cancel button clicked, alright? So do I need to create this first? Yes. Do I need to create this stage and scene? Do I need to add two buttons to it? Do I need to set the action for these two buttons to listen for the clicks, right? And do something, right? I'm not going to use that E arrow because I'm going to use from the basic stuff, and then I get to that E arrow that I explained, right? E arrow is a little bit advanced. So let's do what we did before, like before Java 1.8, alright? So handle event. Alright, here we go. So you create two buttons, one button, OK button, and then cancel button, right?
Yes.
Now take a look here. OK handler class. I'm creating what? An object of that. Where is that class? I created that class. Look at the class. The class, I named it OK handler class. It implements what? Event handler, and it's generic. I put there what? Action event. It has only one method in it that you have to override and implement that, and that's what? Handle. The argument is action event, and what it does, it just prints something. Can you put more stuff inside that?
Yes.
Yes, you can. Alright. Now, did I create object of this class?
Yes.
I set the action to that handler object. So this is the rule. You can register a button on an action for what object? For any object that implements what? Event handler, and you have to override what? Handle,
The method.
this handle method, right? So when I click on the button, what will happen? This handle gets triggered.
Yeah. Just because it's one method, we can set a trigger.
The handle gets triggered. So again, what's really here in the on the action, what I put here is an object. That object should be what type? Alright, are you confused or not?
When it implements the event handler.
Correct. And then what method gets triggered on that?
The handle.
Handle, that's it. So you put an object here that implements the event handler, right? See? Event handler, right? Any class that implements event handler, you need to override the handle, and whenever you register that object with this class object, right? When you click on it, this handle gets triggered. So can I write the calculate method, that previous one, using the event handler?
Yes.
Yes. You create a class, it implements event handler, you override the handle, and what we saw there, we're going to put it where? Inside that handle. Get the text field, do the formulas, and blah, 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 right? This was before lambda expression, that ET, they did it this way. And you understand what it means exactly, right? You have a class that implements an event handler, and you override that. Are we good?
Yes.
Now for cancel button, am I creating another object of cancel handle class? Even if you don't look at this class, you can imagine how it looks like, right? Class cancel handler class implements what? Event handler, and there is a handle there that you put whatever you want to do when you click on this cancel button, right? Class cancel handler implements what? Event handler. Handle, I'm printing what? Cancel button, cancel button clicked, right? And then I'm gonna put that object where? Here. So I'm setting this button to listen to the event and trigger the handle of this object, right? That's it. So if I run this, I click on the OK, the handle of this object gets triggered. If I click on the cancel, the handle object of what? This object gets triggered. We good?
Yeah.
Okay. So these are in the book, right? So you can get it and run it and take a look. Alright. So you have a button, it triggers an event, and then if you have a listener that registered to it, the handle of that listener will take care of that event, right? Are we good?
Right.
And this is what I explained here, right? So you already know what's going on here, right? If I click on OK, this one gets triggered. If I cancel, the other one gets triggered, right?
Yes.
So events. Everything is object oriented in Java, so event, this is the class hierarchy. Event is what? Action event, input event, inflow event, extending from event, right? For button, was it what? Action event. Now look at the input event. You have mouse event, you have a what? Key event, which is a keyboard event, right? So can you register something for for a mouse event?
Yeah.
If it supports that, right? Let's say a stage or a scene. You can register it for a mouse event. So when you go on that stage or scene and click on the mouse, can it listen to the clicks?
Yes.
Yes, and can it trigger a method for you? Yes, that's what it can do. It should support that, right? So, event information, you can get some information from the event. So if I come back here, you see the action event here. You see the E. Is that the object?
Yes.
Is that the event that's coming?
Yes.
Yeah, we should click on the button, right? So if you put E dot, you can get several information about this event. One important information is the source. If you say E get source, you can figure out what button was clicked, right? And as you can see here, this is some guidelines for you. The source of the object, if you have a button, it triggers what? It gives you what action? Action event, right? If you have a checkbox, it gives you what? Again? Action event, right?
Yes.
And take a look here. Some of them you just need to have override one method, some of them more than one method, right? For example, button. It's just one item. What action you can take on the button? Just clicking on it, right? But what about mouse? If you register something to the mouse listener, you can move, double click, one click, go fast, go slow, go upright. So you need to have more methods if you want to listen to all these movements or clicks. So here, take a look here. Set mouse press, set mouse release. So if you click on it, it does something, a method gets triggered. If you remove it, another method gets triggered, right? So those are complex events, right? I mean, mouse is a complex thing. It can create several events, right? All right. So this is overall, you have a source class. You register what? A listener to it. See, is that aggregation or composition?
Aggregation.
Which means every class definitely should have a listener or no?
No.
If it doesn't have, will it go away?
No.
No, it's aggregation. That's why it shows aggregation, right? But if it was composition, then there was a problem that you can't have this one without this, right? It's composed of it. If listener goes away, the class goes away, right? But button, if listener is not there, button is still there, right?
Right.
Alright, and you can see that listener class extends from what? Or implements what? An interface, right? And this is the case for mouse, keyboard, button, anything. A concrete example, button is what? The class, and you set on action, so you're registering a listener. What is that listener? Custom listener class, right? That implements what? Event handler, and when you click on it, what will happen? The handle method of this interface gets triggered, right? Alright? So we already know a button, I'm registering it with a listener, and this is the class that should implement what? Handler event, right? Alright. You can look at this one in the book again. So you have a circle here. So you have a scene that has a circle in it. You click on enlarge, 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 it becomes bigger. What it does, again, it has a listener here. When you click on it, it goes to that handle listen of this class, and it redraws the circle with a bigger radius. Every click, it adds like 5 points to the radius and draws to the radius of that circle and draws the circle. This one are opposite. Again, there's a listener there. When you click on it, what it does? It just shrinks that, subtracted with 5 or something, the radius, alright? Alright, I think we're done except that lambda expression E, right?
Right.
So we have to talk about some concept first here. Inner classes. Can I have one file with many classes?
Yes.
Only one can be public, right? That's not inner class because classes are separate. If you have a class inside another class, they call it inner class. Yes, so inside a class, public class A, I can go inside and say what? Public class B. So did I declare a class inside another class? Yes. That's called inner class. What is the advantage of inner class? One big advantage. See, public class test, obviously I cannot have public class A. I can only have class A. But these two are not inner classes. But I can say public class test. Inside that I say what? Public class A. The big advantage is that whatever is inside this class can see what is outside the class. So let's take a look. Public class outer class. Is that a class? Yes. Int data void n. So it has one property, int, and one method, right? But class inner class. Did I clear the inner class? Yes, because it's inside that. I have an m1 method in this class. Now, can I look at data which is part of the outer class?
Yes.
Yes, it's visible. Can I add one to it?
Yes.
Can I trigger a method that is outside this class, but part of a member of the
Graduation goes.
All right, in the boundary of schools. All right, let's keep going. All right. Java FX. Did you see my videos or no?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to explain a couple of codes here, and it's easy to implement the project using just what I explained today. But go through those videos so you can master the Java FX more. And you will see there's nothing really about Java FX to explain. So I'm going to open the...
Should give us a tutorial on scene build.
On what?
On scene build.
It's the last video in there.
I love how you just said, watch all 35 videos.
Hey, I've been watching the videos.
Yeah,
I watched the videos weeks ago.
It's kind of, you're supposed to wait a little bit too late.
How many hours it takes to watch 35 videos?
It took me one day. It took me.
Yeah, it took a day.
Yes.
I'm looking for a day.
Bucky Roberts, he got funny stories, man.
About these,
Remember the Bucky extracting his neighbor?
Yeah, he's.
there is another big, like, I had a whole fun working with GUI and
Okay. All right, so let's go through the GUI. The Java FX. All right. So everybody set up the Java FX on their laptop?
Yes.
Everything's working, right?
Yes.
All right, great. So Java FX string AWT. These are the hierarchy of, it was first AWT, it was platform dependent a little bit, then it made a lightweight string, and now it's Java FX, alright? Java FX, the basic is you have an application, then you have what? You have to override the start, then you have a state. In the state you can put a scene. In the scene you can put some components like a button. Alright? Do you want I look at one code here?
What slide was that? Was it time?
Is that chapter 14?
Chapter 14.
14. My Java FX. Okay, so let's look at some simple code. My Java FX. Alright. You always import these ones from Java FX. You have the library now. You extend from application. In the application, you what? When you extend, you have to override what? The start will have what? A primary stage. In the primary stage, can I create a button? Yes. So what is this? New button. Everything is objects, right? And classes. So So did I create a button object?
Yes.
Yes. Did I create a scene object?
Yes.
These are the size of it, right? Did I add this button to the scene?
Yes.
And did I add this a title and then set the scene for this stage?
Yes.
Am I showing the stage? And then here I launch it. Okay. You wanna run it or you can run it?
No.
Okay, we can run it. Alright. So let's scan to the code here. Okay. So everybody know that? Do you understand this? What it means?
Yes.
Do you understand what this means?
Yeah.
So we know class hierarchy, right?
Yep.
So can someone tell me, am I extending from the pane?
Yes.
Alright, so this is extension, right?
Yes.
So pane, and then you have flow pane, grid pane, border pane, horizontal box, vertical box, and stack pane. What is this diamond shape?
It's aggregated or something like that. No. Something like that.
Composition.
Composition, yeah. I was close.
Composition, right?
Yes.
And this one is what? We don't have a white diamond, which is aggregation. So what that means? Pane is composed of what? How many nodes?
Many.
As many nodes you want.
That's a
So
start.
can I put as many nodes inside the pane?
Yes.
Yeah, you can. Is these two extending from parent?
Yes.
Is parent extending from the node?
Yes.
Is parent aggregated on only one scene? Is stage aggregated on one scene? So you can read the whole thing, right? And if you go to a company, you see huge URL like this. Alright, it gives you an idea how these classes work together, alright? Are we good? Alright, take a look here. So you have what? Stage, and then you have a scene. Inside that you have a parent, and then you can have nodes in the parent, right? Everybody agree?
Yes.
Alright. The coordinate, be careful, coordinate of Cartesian coordinate is like this, 0, 0 in the middle, but for GUI, 0, 0 is on the left corner over. Are we good?
So when you like change the spaces, like it's based on pixels, right?
Yes.
So it starts from 0, 0. That's what the
Yeah.
200.
Right. Right.
I remember and I ran it till I find the place where I want it to be.
Yeah, that's when you don't know. You try and try and try to get it, but if you understand it,
Right,
it's
it's
with
okay.
one or two tries, alright?
It's okay.
What?
I mean, it's
Just,
okay.
No, it's not okay, because you will miss the deadline if you wanna try everything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, binding properties, do we understand binding properties?
My bad.
Do you understand binding properties? So just run it. Binding properties means, imagine I draw a circle on a stage or a scene. I bind the property of circle to what? To the stage or to the scene. So when I stretch the stage,
Oh, it stays.
that one
Yes,
also
stretch.
stretches, alright?
Yeah.
Is it a useful thing? Yes.
Yes.
Because people can stretch the scene or stage, right? So you don't want a circle stays like that. That's a called form factor, sort of, right? Okay, so you can run the code. So let's get to, alright, color. Can you create a color object?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you set that color for different components?
Yes.
If they accept color objects. Can you create font object?
Yeah.
Yeah, create a font object, change the size, blah, blah, blah. For example, a button. Can you create a button?
Yes.
Can you put a text inside that?
Yes.
Can you, instead of text, can you put a font object in that?
Yes.
Yes. So you can make it different colors, right?
Different colors.
See, did you pass a text to the button?
Yes.
Like, okay. If you look at the button constructor,
There's
you not
many
on-
different
Yeah,
constructors.
you will have a string, you will have a font object, you will have a color object, so you can tweak that, right?
I see. They're all string.
Image, you can create an image object and apply it to a component that accepts an image object. So, and you have to say where is your image. So you have to put it on somewhere and point to it, and then maybe put that image in a button, and then your button will have an image on it, right? I don't think you want to do this stuff in your project, but just keep that in mind, you can do those stuff. Now layout. Layout are important. Yeah, let's look at some example here. So we have flow pane, which means put everything back to back, and if it hits the end of the stage, or C, it goes back to the next line, alright? So if I have put 10 buttons, it puts as much as it can in one line, and then if there is no space, it goes to the next line. So let me show you the code. Show flow pane. Show flow pane. Alright, so let's take a look at show flow pane. It's easy to understand. Alright, am I extending the application? Yes. Am I overriding the start? Yes. Do I have a primary stage? Yes. Am I creating a pane? Yes. But what type of pane?
Flow pane.
Flow pane. And then, am I setting the padding?
Yes.
Yeah. If you read about padding, the spaces between the items, suppose there's a space, how much space you want to put between them. And then, this is H gap, V gap, again the spaces.
Horizontal gap, vertical.
Yes. Pane, you get the children. It means give me whatever inside that. And then you add. You add what? A label, and then you add what? A text field. You add another label. So 3 items I added, right? Okay. And I create a text field here. Again, I open the pane, get children, and add another text field to it and another label, right? So I can keep getting the children adding to it again, right? So it puts everything in what? In one row, right? So let me put that here. Alright, if I run this, see, all the items they put it on the one line, but there's no space. But if I stretch this, what will happen?
Yeah, it's gonna count.
All of them one line, right? So, flow pane, get children, add. It puts everything as much as it can in one line, then it goes to the next one. So we good with this?
Actually, could you leave that up so I can kind of see what it was doing exactly, compare it next to the code for a second?
The code or this one?
I wanted to see it next to the code for a second, just so I can like, work out what's doing what where.
The code?
Yeah, I was trying to work out what's doing what where, but I can look at it later too.
Maybe that's one. Here you go. The code of pane.
Right, yeah, I was watching like where the thing was created, where and whatnot.
Here you go.
It's like a listed layout.
Yeah.
You create a flow pane.
Right.
And whenever you want to add something, just say pane, get children,
Right.
and add all. And you can keep adding components, the label, text field, button. Hey guys, we are in the class, alright?
So the first name, the label, it's like something that you insert information into, like once it
This
asks.
is an object of a label. Everything is an object.
Right.
So I'm adding this object to this pane.
Mhm.
Which type of pane is that? Flow pane.
Right.
So I'm adding a label to this pane.
Mhm.
I'm adding another text field to this pane.
Right.
I'm adding lots of other stuff to this pane.
Right.
This pane job is to put them back to back.
Okay. All right. I see it. All right.
It just, pane is really how to organize the components on the stage.
Yeah.
Or on the scene.
Yeah.
If you say flow, it puts them all together. If you say grid, it puts it in a grid.
Okay.
Alright?
Yeah.
So next one is what? Our next one is grid layout, and that's possibly you're going to use it in your project, right? Grid layout, do you know arrays?
Yeah.
Imagine grid layout like a two-dimensional array. You have rows and columns, and then you put the items inside one of these cells, alright? So I'm going to show grid pane. Show grid
Like
pane.
location 0, 1, 1, 0.
Alright, so take a look at this. I am creating, after. Alright, take a look here. Alright, again, I'm extending this application. Instead of flow pane, I'm saying what now? Grid pane. I'm setting the paddings, and now you don't say how many rows and columns is that in advance. Did I say anything about rows and columns? No, I just put the paddings there. This tells how many rows and columns we have. So see, that pane, I'm adding what? A new label at where?
0, 0.
Row 0, column 0. Row 1, column 0. Row 0, column 1. So just by saying put it there, it automatically understands what is the dimension of it.
Okay.
Alright? So I'm just saying put it here, put it here, put it here. So
What
when I,
does it mean being at button button?
which one?
Yeah, I got it. Button and
Put it at the row 1 and column 3.
Three. Okay.
So if I run this, you will see that by just saying put it in row 1, column 1, it knows how the grid should look like.
No, wait.
Alright, so see? Put 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 2, 0, 2, 1, and then 0, 1, 2, 3, and
3.
did I put 3 and 3 or 3 and 1?
3. Oh, actually, yeah, you put 1, but how does that work at S1, 3?
So I put the first name as 0, 0. Okay, I understand that one. I put the label MI as what? Oh, it is column and row, apparently.
Column, then row?
See? 0, 0, we know this is it, right?
Right.
1, 0.
That's a text field.
1 is what? The column.
Oh.
And 0 is the row.
Yeah.
So I put it here, which is right.
Right.
And then 0, 1, which means column 0 and row 1. 1. So let's go to 1, 3. 1 is what? Column 1 and row what? Row 3. 0,
It
1.
is, yeah. Yeah, so there's 2 columns. Yeah, it makes sense, yeah.
So it's other way around.
Yeah.
Column and row, not row and column, alright?
So that's the panes.
No.
The grid pane.
Grid pane.
Yeah, grid pane.
Yeah.
So we're good with grid pane?
Yeah.
Alright. And there are some other grid ones that I don't think you're going to use it in project, but you have border pane.
Border pane. I use it.
Oh, you did border pane?
Yeah.
Okay. So border pane is like, it says put it on the south or north or east or west.
And you can put different panes in the border pane.
Correct. So let's look at the border pane and discuss what it means. So border pane. Alright, so let's take a look at the border pane. So we have flow, we have grid, and this is the border one, right? So again, instead of making flow or grid, I'm making border pane. I'm adding what? A custom pane. So you can create your custom pane. So see, custom pane extend from what? Stack pane. You heard about the stack before?
Yeah.
Alright. So that's the stack, and I'm adding items to it, but it puts them like a stack, right? So I have a border pane, but I say top, put items on the top. Now top exactly means what? On the top, right? It's not clear exactly the boundary, it automatically tries to figure it out. Put it on the right something, put it on the bottom, put it on the left, and put it in the center. Exactly how it puts that, it decides how to put that exactly in what area, but the direction will be top, south, left, and right, and the center, alright? So am I putting 4, 5 custom panes on right, left, top, bottom, and center, right? And what is the custom pane? Nothing more than a label, the color, right? And the padding part, right? By the way, take a look here, Java FX, you can set the border and colors like this.
Oh, yeah.
So this is how it goes, if you know a little bit web programming, it matches the cascading style sheet. So that's how you set up the HTML elements like this. But don't worry if you don't know that. If you want to change something about a style of something, you have to just follow some syntax. This means change the border to red. So we have 5 custom pane, right? In 5 different areas. So if I run this, let's see how it looks like.
So you use all the things to use the thing.
No, just.
So if I run it, it should show me. Alright, so if I run this, you will see. No, this is not the one.
Right click.
I didn't copy it. Alright, you see that?
Yes.
We put one of the custom in on the top, bottom, left, and right, and center. See, you never said that should be the distances. He tries to figure it out somehow that it should be on the top, like this one should be center, now possibly divided between 3. And if I extend that, it knows how to do that. Eventually, this still is bottom, this is top, this is left, this is right.
And that's border pane.
Border pane, flow pane, read pane, and this is border pane, right?
What was that stack doing exactly again?
Stack, this is a custom pane, right?
Right.
You are putting items on top of each other, but how many items I had there? Only one. So if you add another item, it goes on top of that one.
Where would they go though? Like on what?
Inside of that section.
Oh, inside of that, in that
Inside
left
that section.
Oh, okay.
If I say add another label, it puts it on top of that. If I say add another label, it puts it on top of that.
Okay.
It's like a stack, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty much it. Really, for project, you need this. I don't think you need much more than that. Let's see what we have. Edge box, horizontal box, vertical box. So if you add them, it will put horizontally or vertically. And then shapes. Do you need shape for your project? I don't think so. But this shows you with some code how you can create shapes. Text, line, rectangle, circle, and ellipse, right? I don't think you have shape for your project, but just on the stage, if you want to create a shape in the scene, you can do that.
Okay.
And it's very easy to understand what is happening here, so I don't remember all this stuff, but I can read that, right? So this is a class called circle, and then it's constructor here. You will say the center and the radius and draw it for you, alright? And there are examples there in the book too. So are we good with this Java FX for now?
Yes.
So what you do is using one of these panes, possibly grid pane, you can create a stage and a scene. In the scene you can put what? Labels, like email address for registration, blah blah blah, and a button to say register, right?
Yeah.
So can you create at least this part?
Yes.
Now we're going to talk. When you click on the button, something should happen. But you can show how it should look like, right? So can you create different stages?
Yes.
Set on action.
Yeah.
Can you create different stages?
Yes.
Yes. How you want to split from one stage to another one?
Set on action, and then the button.
Now how you want to split?
You can just show the other.
Creates the object of the class.
No, it shows another one, but how you want to disable this one or this
The
one?
transition.
No, when you say create stage, it will create that, right?
Yes.
Let's say I want to register. I click on it. I want to go to another stage, right? Should I go to another
But
stage?
it will take you, if you click register, it's gonna take you to another stage. right?
What happens to the first stage, which is showing right now?
It's, it's mine is closed.
Who's closing it?
The button action. Whatever the trigger
You
is.
should close it.
Oh, really?
You should close
The
it.
stage doesn't go away, right?
Yeah, you gotta, whatever the action is, you're saying it like, it's just like.
So you bring, like, if you have button 1, button 2, set on action, like button
Now what
1,
I'm
set on
saying
action,
is if you
button 2.
hop from one stage to another
Oh, the other one
stage,
should close.
you should not keep every stage open.
Ah, yeah, I mean, yeah, that,
Yeah.
Yeah, when you say closes it, program doesn't close it.
No, I mean, it's not there anymore. I mean, I haven't noticed it.
Okay, so you know what to do with it, alright? So let's have 5-minute break and then we can talk about the event.
I know.
Yeah, I was thinking the break just wasn't coming.
Peace till next.
This class again, yeah? Yes, I can call end, right?
It doesn't have to be static for it to like work.
What static?
Like the integer data,
No.
because it's inside the same class.
Data can be static too, if you want.
It wouldn't change anything.
No, same. But there's a catch. So this class, can it look at the static? Sorry, can it look at the data?
Yes.
You can see the data. If I make this property static, can it see, look at that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, it's
So in this case, it's okay, right? But can I have an inner class like this? Yes. Can I have a static inner class? Yes. So I can come here and say static class inner class.
Okay, so
When I make the class static, right? Then what will happen?
Data will be
so
so
it's
static.
Then you can only look at the static variable outside the class. Similar concept, right? If it's a static class, do I need an object to create from that?
Yeah. So if you do static class, inner class, you can only access the variables and the methods that are static in outer class? Gotcha.
Right. So we can create inner class. We can create static inner class, or we can create instance inner class, alright? The biggest advantage is what? You can access the data in the outer class. Here, can class A look at the data here? No. Cannot, right? These two separate classes, right? But if I want the A be able to see any property here, then I have to make it what? Inner class.
Right.
Very good?
Right. So, I guess it's.
The reason is why we create sometimes inner class. Let's take a look at this one.
That's what I was about to ask you, right?
That's what you want to ask?
Yeah.
Alright. Is that inner class of this one?
Which one?
No,
Look at this one.
it's not.
It's a class. It's a separate class.
Right.
Is that the one that implements event handler? Yes. So when I click on the button, this one get triggered? So this is simple, it just prints something on the console, right? But let's say this method wants to access anything about the GUI. Can it access?
Yeah.
How?
No, it can't.
This is a separate class, right?
Yeah, this is separate.
Can it go and get access to button? Can it get access to the label? Can it access to anything about the GUI? No, because everything about GUI is in this class, right? So sometimes when you trigger on the button, you want to do something about the GUI too, right? Like change the label. Can you do that anymore? No, because this is now not part of this class anymore, and you don't have access to any property of this class. But if I bring this inside as an inner class, do I have access to every GUI component? Yes. That's the whole point. See? You got it? Do we do it like that? Alright. Now, one type of inner class called, so you can read this. An inner class can be declared public, protected, private, subject to the same visibility rule applied to a member of a class. An inner class can be declared static. A static inner class can be accessed using the outer class name. A static inner class cannot access non-static members of the outer class. It can only access the static member of the outer class. You had that before, right? If you have a static method, can you access non-static members? You remember this?
You
Can or you cannot?
cannot.
You cannot. If you have a static method in a class, that static method inside, you cannot access non-static variables. Why?
Because it's also
Because the method doesn't need an object, And when you say access this data, which is non-static, it requires an object, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense, right?
No.
I'm calling a method that doesn't need an object, and I say access this property which requires an object. Alright, that's why you can. The same rules go for the inner class. If an inner class is static, it can only access the outer class static variables. Last thing that we get closer to that arrow is anonymous inner classes. Okay? Let's have an example of anonymous inner class. Alright, so take a look here. Public void state we had a button, that enlarging of the circle, set action, and I'm registering an object to it, which is what? Enlarge handler. Enlarge handler is another class that what? Implements what? Event handler, and it has an handle in it, and it does what? It enlarges that pane, which we don't care what exactly this happens here, right? So, am I having a class which implements an interface? Did I create an object of this class? Yes. So now take a look here. I can rewrite it in this way. The button is registering a listener set on action. I'm going to say new what? New event handler, right? Yes, correct. New event handler action event with what? With parentheses. What that means exactly create an object for me that implements what? Event handler. Do I need really a class for this? Class name for this? No. Can I say, instead of create an object of enlarge handler, create an object for me from a class which doesn't have a name, which implements what? Event handler, right? So is that an object? Yes. Is that an object that implements the event handler? Does it have a class name really? That's why they call it anonymous inner class. It is a class here really, but it doesn't have a name. But when I create an object of this class which doesn't have a name, does it implement event handler? Yes. But should I still implement that method? Yes, right? So when I put the parentheses, I open the brace and close the brace here and implement that method inside that. So the syntax you have to get used to it, but it's used a lot. Instead of saying new class blah blah blah, just say new, the interface with the parentheses, open a brace, close a brace, and implement that abstract method from the interface. So see, I saved a little bit time on coding here. I did not create a class and then implement the interface and then do the override here. I said, give me an object of a class that implements this interface, and I'm going to override it right now here in line, right in front of you.
Yeah.
So I said writing one class and make it a little more complicated, right? Now we're gonna get to lambda expression. All right, lambda expression is a very smart thing. Lambda expression, it means anonymous method. So we had anonymous class, right?
Yes.
Anonymous class means a class that doesn't have a name, right? Anonymous method means what? A method that doesn't have a name, all right? So take a look here. Set on action, new event handler, action event, parenthesis, open brace, close brace, and put what there? Implement the handler, right? All right. Now, lambda expression is very smart, but you have to make sure that it doesn't make a mistake, all right? Event handler, how many methods it has in it? One, right? One, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, if on the on the set on action, this object should implement the event, the handle, right?
Yeah.
Look at the handle. What it accepts?
Action events.
An action event and does something, right?
Right.
All right. Lambda expression says you don't need to go through this and say handle, because I know the object you're creating will have one method to implement. So if you tell me just it accepts that method one argument and it does something, I know what to do. So you just say set on action, it accepts one argument, that handle method, and it does what? Something. But you have to implement that. It's called lambda expression because you are calling the handle, but you didn't name it handle. Automatically it knows what should call. So is this the input of that method?
Yes.
Is that the implementation of that method? Do you have a name for this method? That's why I call it anonymous method or lambda expression. So that E arrow calculate, you remember that? So I said set on action, right? Something like this, E calculate, right? Was it like this? Instead of creating another class that implements event handler and then put in the handler the action event E and calling calculate inside that, I just say, oh, it needs one method. This is the argument of that handle, and this is what? What is it inside that?
But you still create that method though, right?
Huh?
You still go and create that method though, right?
Yeah, you have to, because in the handle, you can imagine the calculate is inside that handle. Where is calculate? You have to implement that, alright?
Alright.
So this is called lambda expression, alright? Now you can write lambda expression different ways. So take a look here, you can say type parameter 1, type parameter 2, and arrow expression. If you need more than one statement there, you have to put what? A brace, and put all the statements there. Alright? Are we good? But lambda expression, I told you is smart, but you should not confuse the lambda expression, right? Because if you have two abstract methods in that interface, then it doesn't know which one you're talking about, right? So that's why you need what? Single abstract method interface, which means there is only one abstract method in it. Otherwise, lambda expression cannot figure out what you mean by E, which method I have to pass that argument to.
So, when you were just talking about that multiple thing, I guess I don't really understand that.
Huh?
When you were just talking about the multiple expression thing.
Multiple? Which one?
Yeah, that's why.
See, look at this lambda expression. It accepts one argument.
Right.
The implementation is just what? One statement.
Right.
Right? One statement, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do I need to put the semicolon there or anything? No. I just put just one statement there, right? Without the semicolon, right?
Right.
But let's say I want to do calculate, and I want to call another method, and I want to call another method, then I can write it this way. I have to do what? Open a brace, close a brace, put a semicolon here, say calculate, print, respond. See? When you have more than one statement in the body to execute, you have to separate them with semicolon and put it in the brace. If you just have one statement, you don't need the braces, you don't need the semicolon, you just have to say what? That one statement.
And could that one, all of those statements use all of those parameters that are typed in, right? Like those parameters won't be for a specific
Are
statement.
these ones?
Yeah.
They can use them. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they can use them. If you're taking the CERT exam, 2-3 pages is dedicated to lambda expression.
Oh my God. How many questions is it?
Where?
How many questions is that? Is
The CERT exam?
it? Yeah.
70.
About 70?
68. Passing grade is like 68, right?
Yeah.
So they explain, like some questions, there are 2-3 questions, the lambda expression, exactly what you asked. Like how the syntax looks like, can I access the parameter there, blah, blah, blah.
That's all that looks like.
Are we good? Alright. We're almost done. We don't have anything about mouse event and key event in your project, but it's the same. A component will set an action on a mouse event, right? So you have a class that implements what? Mouse handler or something, and then it's more than one abstract method to implement, right? And for any movement of the mouse, clicking, it will trigger the specific method there. Keyboard, the same. You can implement that, and then when you click on a keyboard or you release a key, right, it will trigger all those methods. And it's an interesting thing. You want to try it for your curiosity? Do it. You can write a Java code and give it to your friend and tell, run this Java code. The Java code will listen to every keyboard, every key push, and register everything.
So you can steal his password and stuff, right?
So you think what? Like sometimes it says download this from the web. Maybe they put a program behind the scene. Whatever you type, it captures everything, including a password and username and everything, right? So you can write this program. Maybe you want to try it. Write a program that captures the keywords.
Yeah, download it, give it to my friend.
I'm just gonna do it on the computer.
Alright, that's pretty much it. Animation, we don't have animation, but you can do some animation on the stage or blah blah blah. Fading, image comes and fades. Alright.
Fade transition. Can you go back to fade transition? That's why I see it. You can set like times for.
Yeah, you can say the image pops up and then start fading. And if you want to do this, it's nice to do it. Like this is a clock. I think it was one question before, which was a static one. Static one, when you run it, it shows a circle and with some hands they're showing the time, right? Fixed. It's easy. You can draw a circle and then you have to find out the angle between hands based on the time and draw it, right? This is not a static one. This is a dynamic one, which means it keeps moving. Which is not important here. Bouncing ball. If you look at the code, the ball bounces. Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah, it's very important.
Yeah, for your project. Alright, we're done. So you can create a Java FX, you can register a listener for button. Alright, no, one second, where are you going?
We should done.
Done about the Java FX. So let's take 5 minutes explain that about the project one more time, alright?
Okay.
So, again, we have next session 2, which we have a quiz too, right?
Do it?
It's gonna be on JavaFX?
No, it will be on database and exception.
Okay. Yes.
Yes. So, as I said, you have 3 layers. The one layer will be what? User interface.
Yep.
One layer will be possibly business logic, big logic. And one layer will be what? Database. And you have your nice database here running, right? And when I say layer, it means really different packages, right?
Right.
And maybe you want to have like a common thing, another package called common, with the code that is shared among all these stuff, right? Like this code might use something from here, this one also uses from here, this one uses something from here. Okay?
That's all your methods, basically.
Yeah, it's a method that is common. Like you want to parse something. You might use that parsing here, also here, alright? Alright, so can you create a UI? Yes, JavaFX. So you're packaging in the right format and then you put the labels here and some buttons registered, for example. Can you create this?
Yes.
Yes. Can you register a listener to this one?
Yes.
Register a listener, right? A listener. Which I click, a method gets triggered, right? So let's have this method here, just to show. Can you capture all these items from this text view?
Yes.
I can capture all the items. Capture all items. Let's say it is information about the person, right? Email address, SSN, blah blah blah. So you have it as a string, right? I told you you have a class called person, right? Key1 or whatever you want to name it, person, and you want to put all those items here. So now I have an object, which that object has all those information in bits and pieces from here, but it's one object, right? Everybody agree? Okay. Now, can I say call a method like process and pass that object person? Can I do that? Call a method and pass that object.
Right.
Maybe you want to put it here. So that method should be what? Object of person, right? I make that what? Static, and then I call this class exception handler. So if I want to call this, what should I say? Exception handler dot process as that person, right? You write all your try and catches here, catch, catch. Every exception, whatever bubbles up, eventually it will be caught here, and you pass a message where? Back to the UI, and that message can pop up as a GUI or something, right? So this one catch every exception and format the message that you want to pass to what? To the UI. Is there anything UI here? Every UI will be what? Only here. So it's separation of task too. Someone can only work on the UI, and you don't need to deal with UI here and here anymore, right? Okay. So this process. Now inside this, you can call again what? Process. Another method called process. But this process in which class? Maybe BizLogic, right? BizLogic class. You have a process too, right? Again, this is static, right?
Yes.
And accepts what? Person object, right? Alright, in this process, can you implement the BizLogic? All the logic that it requires. And when you're done with that, if it's satisfactory, you keep moving. If it's not satisfactory, you bounce it back, and you bounce it back as an exception. The flight is full. Throw flight full exception. It comes here, you catching, and you show the right message there, right? Okay, now if everything's satisfactory, can you call a class here called DB? And let's say get flights. Or you just pass what? The person object, right? So, did I deal with database here? Not yet. Did I deal with database here? Yes. When they say get flight, do I have the person? And I connect to the database. And based on the data in that person, query about that person and return all the flight patterns. Do you return as a result set or no? Maybe not. Maybe you want to return it as what? Array list, right? Because result set is what? It's really database specific, right? So you want to go through the result set, put it in an array list and what? Return it back here. The business logic, if there's a business logic needed, do it. If no, array list comes here and you show it what? As a UI. UI, business logic, database, and this one only talks to what? Database. So get flight. Right? So it's easy. I just say get flight. I don't deal with database directly, right? So it's separation, right? So if you want to change a query, it doesn't affect this part. It doesn't affect this part. You have to go inside the get flight and change a query here, right? Very good?
Yes.
So an exception handler, I mean, it's written in the same layer as the biz logic. It's just not the business logic.
You can make another layer if you want.
Or put it in the
or
common.
put it in part of the business entry point.
Okay.
Yeah, everything goes to what? And then it goes to different places, right? Everything is entry point, right?
So
if it tries no exception, it goes to, it goes back, like in try catch block, passes, try, it goes back to business and then.
Yeah, it goes to business. If exception comes, it catches it, form a message and send it
Comes back to UI.
And UI get the message that says, okay, ask me for it. So, again, this is a rough thing you have to do. So stick to this because then everybody can work separately and everybody can still collaborate but in a separate way and then maintenance is easy. Something is not working. Okay. You know where to go. Maybe it's a query, maybe it's a UI, right? To mix everything, it's difficult. Maintain, change, and troubleshoot, alright? Are we good? I think we have 2 weeks, right? Like more than 2 weeks.
Do a project, we present a project on May 6th.
Yeah.
I said we have 3 layers. The one layer will be what?
Oh yeah, yeah, I'm still here.
User interface.
Yep.
One layer will be possibly business logic, biz logic.
Oh, I can put all this in one.
And one layer will be what? Database. And you have your nice database here running, right?
Yeah.
And when I say layer, it means really different packages, right? And maybe you want to have like a common thing, another package called common, with the code that is shared among all these stuff, right? Like this code might use something from here, this one also uses from here, this one uses something from here.
Okay.
Okay?
So all your methods basically.
Yeah, it's a method that is common. Like you want to parse something. You might use that parsing here, also here, right?
Right.
Alright, so can you create a UI? Yes.
Sure can.
Graphics. So you're packaging in the right format, and then you put the labels here and some buttons, register for example. Can you create this?
Yes.
Yes. Can you register a listener to this?
Yes.
Register a listener, right? And a listener. Which I click, a method gets triggered, right? So let's have this method here, just to show you.
What is
Can you capture all these items from this text field?
Yes.
So I can capture all the items. Capture all items. Let's say it is information about the person, right? Email address, SSN, blah blah blah. So you have it as a string, right?
Yeah.
I told you to have a class called person, right?
Right.
E1 or whatever you want to name it, person, and you want to put all those items here. So now I have an object,
Of that person.
which that object has all those information in bits and pieces from here, but it's one object, right? Everybody agree? Okay. Now, can I say call a method
Add person or
like
something.
process
Okay. Yeah.
and pass that object person?
Yes.
Can I do that? Call a method and pass that object. Right. Maybe you want to put it here. So that method should be what?
Process.
Object of person, right?
Right.
I make that what? Static. And then I call this class exception
Handle.
handler.
Yeah.
So if I want to call this, what should I say? Exception handler
handler.
dot process past that person, right? You write all yours, try and catch
for the
this here.
database.
Catch.
And this is
catch,
just basically.
catch. Every exception, whatever bubbles up,
Is gonna come with
eventually it will be caught here.
Inside
And you
business
pass a
logic.
message where?
back to the
Back
caller.
to the
To
UI,
user.
and that message can pop up as a GUI or something, right? So this one catch every exception and format the message that you want to pass to what?
The UI.
The UI. Is there anything UI here?
No.
Every UI will be what?
In the UI
Only
section.
here. So it's separation of tasks too. Someone can only work on the UI, and you don't need to deal with UI here and here anymore, right? Okay. So this process. Now inside this, you can call again what?
The
Process.
cool.
Another method called process.
Oh, but
But
in
this
the
process
database.
in which class?
Database.
Maybe biz logic, right?
Oh, come on. Look.
Biz logic class. You have a process too, right?
Okay, yeah.
Again, this is static, right?
Yes.
And access what? Person
Yeah.
object, right?
Uh-huh.
Alright, in this process, can you implement the biz logic?
Yes.
All the logic that it requires.
Yeah.
And when you're done with that, if it's satisfactory, you keep moving.
Mhm.
If it's not satisfactory,
Bounce back.
you bounce it back. Can you bounce it back as an exception?
Yeah.
The flight is full. Throw flight full exception. It comes here, you're catching, and you show a right message here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now if everything is satisfactory, can you call a class here called DB,
And do some shit.
and let's say get flights, or you just pass what? The person object, right?
Yeah.
So, did I deal with database here? Not yet. Did I deal with database here?
Yes.
When they say get flight, do I have the person? Can I connect to the database? And based on the data in that person, query about that person and return all the flight back.
Yeah.
Do you return it as a result set or no?
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe you want to return it as what? Array list, right? Because result set is what?
Just a lot of stuff.
Really database specific, right?
Yeah.
So you want to go through the result set, put it in the array list, and what?
Pass it
Return
back.
it back here. The business logic, if there's a business logic needed, do it. If no, array list comes here and you show it what? As a UI. UI, business logic, database, and this one only talks to what?
The database.
Database. So get flight. Right?
Right.
So it's easy. I just say, get flight. I don't deal with database directly, right?
Just
So it's
pass it along.
separation, right? So if you want to change a query, it doesn't affect this part. It doesn't affect this part. You have to go inside the get flight and change a query here, right? Are we good?
Yes.
So the exception handler, I mean, it's written in the same layer as the business logic. It's just not the business logic.
You can make another layer if you want,
Oh, put it-
or put it in part of the business entry point. See, everything goes through what?
The exception will like.
And then it goes to different places, right?
Do you have
MVC
a
is
class
entry
for
point,
exception
right?
handlers? That handles our exception.
Handles
So
exception.
if it tries no exception, goes to, I mean, it goes back, if, like in try catch block, if it passes, try, it goes back to business, I mean,
Yeah, it goes to business. If exception comes, it catches it, form a message and
and
send it
comes back to
here.
UI and pops
And
up.
UI get the message that says, okay, I have to show it. So again, this is a rough thing you have to do. So stick to this because then everybody can work separately
Right.
and everybody can still collaborate but in a separate way, and then maintenance is easy. Something is not working.
Which
Okay.
side is it?
You know where to go. Maybe it's a query, maybe it's a UI, right? You mix everything, it's difficult to maintain, change, and troubleshoot, all right?
Yes.
Are we good? We usually have 2 weeks, right?